Okay, welcome out to Operation Management. This is Brother Eberhard. I'm going to run you guys through a problem that I just don't think we're going to have time to hit very well in class today. And it can take a little bit of time. If you look at it, it's IM 82. There's also an IM 84. And they're a little daunting because look at all these questions that have to be answered. Don't worry. All these questions can actually be answered just by doing 5 or 6 formulas out here to the side of this table, and it'll make everything good. The situation we have here is we're buying inventory at a certain price, in this case, $50. We get a discount if we buy larger quantities of inventory. If I go above 300 units, I'll get half a percentage discount. If I buy above 1,200 units at one time, I'm going to get a 2% discount. That's a pretty big discount. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out if the standard economic order quantity that balances my ordering cost and my holding cost, if that's still the best approach, or if I'm better off buying more inventory and having a larger holding cost, but if that drops my ordering cost down enough and that difference in material price offsets it, I still might be better off buying more inventory and holding it. Let's play the game. Highlight these numbers and throw them into Excel. Okay. Once everything's in Excel, I'm going to kind of start adding things in kind of the way I would do it. First, I'm going to add in everything else from that problem. And I'm looking at the problem on my other screen. It tells me that my regular price for product for me is $50. Your numbers might be a little different. I'm going to put that one up here. I just like to have that up here above because the one thing I'm going to do first is calculate discounted price down below. But before I do that, I'm going to keep making sure I have all my information. In fact, I'm going to highlight, well, I'll just leave it. The next thing the case tells me is it says every time I place an order, it costs $52 to place those orders. It also says that I don't have a set holding cost, but I have an interest rate of 14%. That's the cost to go borrow money and other things. And it tells me that my annual demand is 10,750 units. Now, if I wanted to, I could place this information over here in each of these and have it go down. But since that's the same regardless of the option, I'm just going to leave these items here. And when I reference them in a formula, I'll always anchor in these items. Sound good? Ready to roll? Let's start with that discounted price. And you're going to notice I'm going to do something here. Every time I put a formula in, I'm going to also put a note down here. My discounted price is simply going to be my regular price up above times 1 minus the discount percentage. Show you how that works right here. I'm going to take that regular price. I'm going to anchor that thing in because I'm only hitting it one time. And I'm going to times everything by 1 minus my discounted price. Where my discounted price is 0, that price will remain the same. Where my discounted price goes up, my discounted percentage, my price goes down. This looks like it's the same, but if we were to throw some decimals in there, you would see the prices are slightly different. I'm going to highlight this, keep my notes color coordinated. Whoa, I'm also going to make sure everything is where I can see it. Just in case that happens again, we'll change the font on all of these. Okay, discounted price was the first thing. Once we have that discounted price, we can calculate our EOQ or our AOQ, adjusted order quantity, because in this case, where we're dealing with potential discounts, I might want to adjust my order quantity to something different, larger than what the EOQ tells me. Well, let's start off by simply doing the EOQ formula. Make ourselves a note. EOQ equals square root. Open up 2 parentheses here. Be careful on this one because this whole thing needs to be in parentheses. 2 times the annual demand times the order cost. That's going to get closed and divided by, in this case, we don't have holding costs, so we have to take our interest rate times, that's right, unit cost. The reason I did the two parentheses, I have to make sure that I get the square root of this whole formula. If I only take the square root of the first part and then divide it by this as its own standalone, my number is going to be off. How do I know? Well, let's go do the math. First, let me color coordinate. Whoops. There we go. Let's make these that color. That sounds good. I'm going to take the square root of, and I did two parentheses, 2 times the, where did it go? Annual demand. I'm going to anchor in that annual demand times my order cost. Anchor in that one as well. Divided by my interest rate, anchored in, times my unit price. And I'm not anchoring in that unit price. Closing that whole thing out, two parentheses. I'm going to get rid of those decimals because I think it actually asks me just to round in this case. And you can see that my EOQ is 400. If I drag that down, it doesn't change a whole lot because the only thing that changed in that formula was this discounted price. But it's still going to tell me that my economic order quantity, the place where I balance out my ordering cost and my holding cost, is relatively low inventory. But let's find out what that does to our costs. Since we balance ordering cost and holding cost, let's go figure out first what our annual ordering cost would be. To get my annual ordering costs, I first have to figure out how many times I'm going to place an order, and then just simply times that by my order cost. So annual ordering costs equal annual demand. We should probably throw this in parentheses, shouldn't we? Annual demand divided by that AOQ or EOQ, whichever one you want to call it. And we're going to times that whole thing, of course, by our order costs. Let's keep this color coding going. I'm kind of liking it. Let's do green this time. I'm going to take my annual demand, anchor that in, divide it by my adjusted order quantity, and I'm going to times that whole thing by my order cost, which I also will anchor. $1,398. That doesn't change a whole lot, just a little bit on each one of these. To make sure I did that math right, I'm actually going to then also calculate my annual holding cost. Notice I put that a cell over because in order to calculate that, I want to do something else first, which is just my average inventory held. Remember, there's a simple rule of thumb for average inventory held. If I'm ordering the same quantity all the time, my average inventory held is just going to be my EOQ or my AOQ, whichever one I'm ordering, divided by 2. That's that simple formula. Simple rule of thumb, but I love it. Let's do the math. AOQ divided by 2. Let's round that out just in case. Keep it simple. If I have my average inventory held, it's easy to calculate my annual holding costs because my annual holding costs are simply going to be my average inventory held that I just calculated. Inventory held times my interest rate times my unit cost. I don't even need to put those in parentheses, but I should anchor a few of them. Let's take our average inventory held, times that by our interest rate, that'll be anchored, times that by my unit cost. Back over here. Look at that number for a minute. Do you notice anything? My holding cost and ordering costs are the same. That means the formula over here is right. That's the definition of the EOQ formula, is it balances out the ordering cost and the holding cost. I'm just going to do a quick color highlight. Are you with me so far? Is everything making sense? Excellent. Because the last thing we need to calculate is simply my total annual inventory costs. I've already done most of the math for this. All this total inventory cost is going to be is my annual holding cost plus my annual ordering cost plus the actual cost of the material I purchase. Let's make a note of that so it helps you out. Total annual inventory cost simply is going to be my annual holding cost. Let's just work our way backwards down the list, plus my annual ordering costs, plus the actual cost of the material, which is simply my annual demand times my unit price, which in this case is my discounted price, correct? Let's go do the math and see. I'm going to take my annual holding plus my annual ordering plus, in parentheses, my annual demand anchored in times my unit price. Since we were doing all this color-coded, let's keep doing that. Make this, let's do another green. No, yellow. There we go. What you have now is you have everything you need to go answer every single question back in that homework problem. The problem is there's going to be a little bit of a change here on your adjusted order quantity. Look at it for a minute. To get this discounted or this first price of $50, I need to order between 100 and 299. My EOQ, however, is 400. How many should I order if I'm in that category? Well, never order less than your EOQ. Never order less. So even in this situation, I would still order 100 units. If it asked me about option B, to get this price discount, how many should I order? Well, I don't want to order the entire 1,199. I want to order the amount that makes the most economic sense, which is going to be 401, since the 400 falls within that range. I'm not going to change anything in either one of these. However, down here for option C, to get that 2% discount, I have to order at least 1,200 units. I can't order only 404. So I have to change this to the very minimum of that price range, which is 1,200. I'm going to highlight the fact that I did that separately and manually. Look what happened to my ordering costs. They dropped down to 465. That's because I'm going to be ordering a lot less often. So I'm going to pay that $52 a lot less often. I'm going to be holding more inventory. Look what happened to my annual holding costs. They went up drastically from 1,400 to 4,000. Even so, because of that discounted price, look over here at the end. I'm still paying less with option C. Now, some of you, your option C won't be less, so pay attention. Make sure you are reading the numbers. If I were to take this file now and go back in to answer all my homework problems, where did they go? I would simply pay attention. It just asks the same thing over and over again. When there's no discount quantity, what's my adjusted order quantity? For me, it's 400. Same answer, what's my ordering costs? 13, wants it rounded up, excellent, 99. What would be my average number of units held? Easy enough, we've got that information. What would be my annual holding cost? Well, we calculated that, and plus we know it's the same up here because I haven't changed or manually adjusted that EOQ yet. Total inventory cost, 540 to 98. Actually, I'm going to make sure I got to round that. It's actually going to be 297 the way that one rounds. When I get the 50% discount, what would I be? My order quantity be 401. Annual ordering costs, 1395. Adjusted inventory, if I'm rounding it, it's still just 200. Holding cost, 1395. Total inventory cost, 537,603. When there's a 2% discount, I'm going to do the 1,200 units that I have to do to get that discount, but nothing more. That's going to make my annual ordering costs $466. Using the adjusted order quantity as determined above, what's my average number of units held? It's going to be that 1,200 divided by 2, 600. You guys get the idea? I just like to do this. I love hitting the button and seeing everything green. And I sure hope it ends up being green. CBA, that actually is how the order I want mine. If your order is different, just drag them to a different order. But for me, that's how my order works out. How did I do? Oh boy, that feels good when it's all right. I hope this video helps you out a little bit. I know it's a little bit long. That's also the reason why we couldn't do it in class. So hopefully this will help. Thanks.